I'd like to call the Brookings County Commission meeting to order on Tuesday, May 18th, 2021 with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is an invitation for a citizen to schedule time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. Is there anybody here? Hearing none. Move on to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? No changes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 5, consent agenda items. The approval of the minutes, approval of travel requests, approval of personnel action notices, approval of cellular authorizations, and approval of the human services report. I have motion to approve.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any additions, corrections? Hearing none, call roll.
Pierce.
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Boersma. Aye. Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Moving on to routine business. Approval of the claims. I have motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any additions here? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Bartley.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Boersma. Aye. Pierce.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B, department head reports. Start with Brian.
Well, south of town here, I know we've been advertising that we've been closing 32nd Street South between 22nd Avenue and Main during the day. Did a couple of culverts. We're working on the shoulders now, and once we get done with that, then we'll be ready for our asphalt project. So, no definite timeline from Bose on that asphalt project yet, but we're getting it ready, so when they can come in, then we'll be ready for that. South of town, in preparation for the Sinai Bridge, and that's going to be let here in June 16th. So that's good news there. And then one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to help out Madera Township on one of their roads, similar to what we did up in Preston Township by the Bruce Bridge. And speaking of the Bruce Bridge, I'll just skip to the bottom there. They're looking at doing the deck pour next week. So within 5 to 6 weeks, we'll have a new bridge and open to traffic mid to late June. And 23 has been moving along. One of the complaints the contractor has is the materials that road's built with is granite. It's going a little slower than they had anticipated with their grinding. It's awfully hard on their bits, that granite, but it is moving along. We'll be wrapping up on the north side of town tomorrow morning, and then move to the south side of town, and they'll complete that from the south side of Aurora to 324, and then jump back into the Aurora during the day. So then they're going to get some advertisement out for that when they do grind through the city of Aurora. One of the concerns that I had is their flagging. That stretches out about 3/4 of a mile when they're grinding, so that's pretty much all the way through town. So I'm trying to request that they get their operations a little closer, but it is sometimes difficult as there is 4 machines working to complete that grinding. But it's one of the things that I brought up, but they're going to be advertising when they're going to do that, to see how south of town goes. Anything else? Thanks.
Thank you. Lori?
Good morning. Okay, so wind tower money came in. I included in your packet a graph showing who got the wind tower money. 35% stays with the county, 15 to the townships, and the schools get 50% of that. So that got apportioned out this month to them. An update on the alternative to detention grant that we are custodians of. They have not submitted any bills in quite some time, so I checked out with them. They are going to submit some bills, and as soon as those get paid, I'll give you a copy of the bills and the payment for your information. If you recall, that's a grant from the South Dakota Department of Corrections. It reimburses the Boys and Girls Club for their staffing, services, and expenses they incur while administering the JDAI program. So that is, I'm still monitoring that. This one I'm going to save. Tax freeze applications for evaluations are completed. There were 103 applications that went out and only 57 were returned. So next year I kind of think maybe we'll do a little bit more advertising for that to make sure that people are aware that they can apply for it. It is income-based, and it is a yearly application they have to do. There is another program that is out there right now. It is for sales property tax. A lot of the people who apply for this are renters. It is income-based. It's a little bit stricter than the other one. They get a refund of sales tax or property taxes on that. It's not run through our office. You can get those applications at the library or the post office normally. Otherwise, the glass partitions are finished and it looks really nice and professional in the office. We're really happy to have that done. The position at the counter has been filled and that has been working great. Let's see what else. I attended the new officials workshop in Pierre back in March and the spring workshop in May. Both were really beneficial, and we had actually Commissioner Pierce speak at the the workshop in Pierre, and she did a really, really good job. It would be nice to have you delve farther into that for us. Let's see, budgets. I got all the department's budgets in, so working on that. Going to start that today and get your booklets for the budget sessions to start. Annual report. We are still waiting for legislative audit. Still waiting for legislative audit. They did, however, start the next audit while they're waiting for the other one to finish up. So maybe we'll be ahead of the game at some point. And the thing that I saved was to tell you that we're going to be getting a kiosk for motor vehicle renewals again, and it will be in the Lewis Drug Store. And so you will be able to go out there. You'll be able to renew your license tags, change your address, mailing information. You'll have to have your driver's license or ID card, a credit card, or a debit card. And in the future, they want to be able to have you be able to print seller permits and renew your driver's license at that kiosk. So that would be really helpful. And that's kind of life and finance.
Is there any certain hours that will be open?
The kiosk, I would imagine Lewis Drug hours.
Okay.
Soon, just soon. Department of Motor Vehicles will be putting out media information on it. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
First of all, on May 10th, we had a Cannabis Ordinance virtual Zoom meeting put on by the First Planning District. And of course, next Tuesday, we've got a joint county commission, Brookings County Planning Commission joint meeting to start the process on what the county's gonna do on that. We'll keep you informed. On May 11th, we had a FEMA flood risk review meeting. I included the PowerPoint into your packet. One of the big things to look at, there's a timeline. If you want to scroll down just a hair, there should be like a snake timeline. Right there. And we're basically about a quarter of the way through this. Basically what FEMA's doing is they're taking a lot of GIS data that's been compiled by the county and by the state of South Dakota called LIDAR. It's a low image reading of all the elevations in the community. They are doing a lot of processing at the federal level on elevations and stream flows and all that. What they haven't done yet, they haven't put what's known as letters of map amendments, and this is where people go in and they build a house. They have engineers come in, and they basically elevate the house. If you ever look at a house, the city of Brookings has got several examples, we won't name them, but where they elevate stuff up in the air. They're doing that to meet the National Floodplain Insurance Program requirements for 1 foot above the base flood elevation. So right now they're to the stage up there on the map, but like I say, about a quarter of the way through. There's a web link inside the PowerPoint if you want to go look at it, and it's actually got a good tool where you can take your mouse and you can see what's in the floodplain now. You can sweep it across the page and see what's going to be in the floodplain when they release the new maps. There's going to be some properties that's in the floodplain now that will be taken out, and there'll be some properties in the county that's not in the floodplain right now and that will be put in there. And FEMA's taken like 6 years to do this particular map to make sure they've got all their ducks in line. In the future, we will have public meetings, at least one, if not two public meetings throughout the county to show people this map. And at that time, we would have it set up where people can come, you know, if they live on a lake and have paid flood insurance in the past, they can go on this website and look and see, are they still going to have to continue doing it, or is their property going to be brought out? It's a good process. It's all basically scientific. There'll be some appeal process. Excuse me. But with the science and the elevation, it's going to be hard to appeal out of it once they do their homework, and the only way they're going to get out of it is going to be by elevation and things like that. And people might say, well, I own my house, I don't have to worry about flood insurance or anything else. Well, the problem is you're not going to own your house forever. And if you ever decide to sell your house and someone needs to get a federally backed mortgage, if you're in a floodplain, you're going to buy flood insurance. And that's not a county requirement, that's not a Bob Hill requirement, that's the federal government's requirement. So just be aware. It's we study these things, we take our time on it, we try to do it right when we do it. Our last update was 2009, and we had several properties put into it and some properties taken out of it, just like now. Now it's going to be a much more in-depth thing, and we'll keep the county commission informed when these meetings are in case you want to come to them. This happened to be a Zoom meeting. Sooner or later, they're going to have to start coming back in person and having the meetings. Then the following day, we had a big Sioux River Diversion Structure Project Coordination meeting. And that it started at 8 a.m., went to about 10 a.m., and basically Banners Associates are working on this plan to send to the federal government. You got Natural Resource Conservation Resource District, you got the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and you got the United States Corps of Engineers, and they went through everything. They explained what they've done. We had the federal officials on the line with us from Huron and Pierre, and it was actually a good meeting. We had some commissioners here. I think it was a productive meeting, and the meeting was Tuesday, and then on Thursday, I got this. It says, "Bob, I wanted to pass this along. I think this is a good sign. We will be able to further clarify the requirements from the NRCS." And what she's referring to is May 24th, the NRCS has a meeting with their national headquarters, and they're going to present information from the Brookings project to them at that time. So basically, the same materials that I sent to you guys earlier this year. Then we discussed the materials on last Tuesday, and now they asked for some more clarification, like the Corps of Engineers. They want more, you're going to do, instead of being a pass or fail, they want different options. Option 1, 2, and 3, different options to take a look at. So Banners is preparing that. And then the NRCS asked about, did you take a look at U.S. Fish and Wildlife easements? Because that's a different federal organization that's got wildlife easements and all that. So they're doing all that, and then they're going to get that packet to the NRCS to be sent to the national headquarters. So that's a good thing. We do have the agenda minutes, the minutes from the meeting, which can be forwarded out to the whole board. Any questions on those two items?
Commissioner Pierce?
There's on the PowerPoint that I sent to you, there's a website. You go in there and type that website in, and that's for any members of the public that want to take a look at it. You're welcome. Yeah, we'll get it here in a minute. I think that's near the end. Well, let's see, map line, yep, keep going. Keep going. There's the LiDAR I referenced. And right there. Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. Okay, moving on from that. May 13th, we had points of dispensing, number 9. It was a second dose Moderna and a walk-in for the Johnson & Johnson Janssen vaccine. May 13th, while I was at the pod, I attended a NACO Board of Directors meeting. They're moving on with the national convention in Virginia. It's not actually technically Washington, D.C. this time. They're moving it about just to the south, over by Crystal City. May 20th, this Thursday, we've got our pod number 10 scheduled, and that's going to be almost called a super pod, because that's going to be a 16-hour event. From 8 to 4, it's going to be our second dose regular scheduled pod with walk-ins available. And then from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, it's for 12-year-old to 17-year-old students only, and that's with the Pfizer vaccine, which is the only vaccine authorized for 12-year-old to 17-year-olds at this time. And that's this Thursday. You do need to call the log in, either sign up online on the Brookings Health System website, or there is a telephone number, which I don't have in front of me right now, but we'll be more than happy to get to you if you give our office a call. May 20th, we also got a local emergency planning committee meeting scheduled. You notice we multitask from these pods. We sit there and thank goodness for laptop computers and cell phones, so we get to multitask a whole lot. May 26th, there is a tri-state emergency management meeting in Sioux Falls. If I do attend that, I'll have to submit a late travel request, and I'll discuss that with my liaison, of course. May 12th to 13th, Richard went out to code enforcement training. In our yearly budget, we always put down a little bit of money for local state training for someone to go out. And here's what Richard, the training was held in Fort Pierre, May 12 to 13. He said they had active shooter training, American with Disabilities Act, ADA, code enforcement for small communities, and nuisance problems and solutions. He says it was a very informative training session, and that's part of, you don't always have to travel out of state to go to meetings. And June 8th, we've got a emergency management exercise. It's actually almost a statewide exercise. It's the 82nd Silver Support Team. For those of you that don't know what the 82nd Silver Support Team is, if there's ever a terrorist-type attack in the state of South Dakota, this team will be on. They'll be here within 4 hours, and they've got bells and whistles, and chemical suits, and radiological detectors, and everything. And the county is going to participate. I'm going to have my mobile emergency operations center set up. On this exercise, I want to do it a little bit different. Usually, we take our exercise equipment and we go to another community and we break away from the courthouse totally. But this time, I'm going to try the part where I'm going to have my emergency operations center at the Swift Health Center. It'll be manned by some people. But then, like my public information officer works in this building, my finance people, they work in this building. If I need something, I'm going to have them check in out at the field site. Then they can come back in and do their regular work. But if I need something, just give them a call. Because that's what's going to happen in real life. And that's what we want to try to exercise. And we'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, then next time we'll take them all out. Being at the Swift Health Center, I believe it'll work. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. That's why we exercise, to see what works and what doesn't work. And several departments will be involved in that, and we'll give you a good update afterwards. We don't want to spill the beans on all the stuff we're exercising just yet. Any questions? My son flew home from Japan. He is a Brookings County citizen. He's going to get the COVID-19 shot, and we're going to enjoy his visit. So if I'm in and out, I'll be close to my phone. My staff will be able to get me within 10 minutes at any time. But I may not be sitting in the office 8 to 5. If you need me, I will be there. If not, nothing else, have a great day. I'm going to go over on the radio, and we're going to talk about summer weather, because it just feels like it's going to start storming pretty soon. Summer preparedness is important for everyone. Thank you.
Marty?
Good morning.
Morning.
Just quick statistics is that we're down in numbers a little bit. We got 27 inmates, which is okay. But we still stay busy. A lot of in and outs, a lot of bookends, and we're able to get them out on bond and stuff. So the ones that need to stay in jail, and the rest we can get out on bond. So that's good. Numbers are down in the 24/7, and so that's kind of a good at this point too. I don't know if that means less people are drinking or not, but what's nice is that there's only 76 participants right now, and with everything going on at the jail, which is kind of hectic, but it's a good hectic, is that there's only 24 or 26 coming in twice a day for the PBT, and we're having to move that around a little bit because of the remodeling. I only have 2 on work release at this time. A lot of the individuals that have been coming to jail don't have jobs, so we don't have to track these people with all the work release. So we only have 2 right now on work release. I'm short staffed right now. I have one at National Guard for a couple weeks, and then one's in training. So I'm using a little overtime because of things always come in at the last minute. It seems like just about time a deputy gets off shift, and then there's a domestic or something comes through that he has to stay and do. But we're keeping up with that. Today at 1 o'clock, we have our first meeting with SDSU with planning. We're going to start the planning stage for the fall bash, I guess if you want to call it, the concert and so forth. So they're expecting, I don't know, 23,000 people maybe. Sell that many tickets, so we're going to start the planning process of that, what we need up there. My K-9 officer, deputy, was out at the OAC yesterday at noon and gave a dog demonstration. Dustin had a group of kids coming in from out of town, I think from Dolan, South Dakota. We did a little, deputy did a presentation for them. And basically, been staying busy, just like all the other county departments. But you guys have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. The finance officer's report is next.
We got a 9 o'clock scheduled.
We have just some be it noted items, so.
We have the finance officer's report.
I can definitely do it in 5. Do you have any questions? I'm done. We're working cash in the office. We're waiting to get that final annual report switched over. Yeah.
That's going to straighten itself out when we move from accrual to cash on our reports.
What items are you talking about?
Well,
She's
I'm
talking
looking,
fund
for
balance.
example, at the E911 fund, where we're still
On the-
$14,000 in the hole on the report.
I don't know if the cash or not. This is still at year end last year because we don't touch fund balance throughout the year, typically, unless we do some supplemental budgets. So I don't know that you'll see those change until maybe the end of the year.
Okay. Are we in balance on that fund now? Then if this report doesn't reflect what we actually have, is that all fixed? Whatever we were having to take care of?
I need to look into it some more. I can't, without digging into the numbers right offhand, I can't tell you.
Thank you.
And the motor vehicle kiosk is up and running at Lewis, so go check it out.
Maybe when Mr. Hill does his
I was wondering if
radio
you would do
appearance
that.
today, he could talk about that. Be great. He has
Yes.
material. He needs material.
Any other questions?
You just have to note the be it noted auditor's account with the treasurer, payroll additives and totals, highway expenditures report, and the register of deeds statement of fees collected for the minutes.
And we also have a be it noted item. The following are BCOAC RSOs to be added to our volunteer list for work comp purposes. Donald Dolence, Casper Franson, and Kelly Harmlick. We're close enough. Number 7, scheduled agenda items. We have a 9 o'clock discussion with Mary Beth Fishback, Executive Director, Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness. Would you like to come forward?
Good morning.
Morning.
I did bring, would care for an actual printout. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present to you all today. It's been a little while since I've been in front of the commission, so I'm happy to be able to give you an update on where we stand as an agency for Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness. Just to give us to get us started, I wanted to give a little update on our agency background. As you all know, we are a community mental health and substance abuse services center. We are one of our state's 11 community mental health centers and are the designated center for Brookings County. So we provide a comprehensive array of mental health and substance use services to the residents of Brookings County. Over the last almost 4 years since I've taken on the leadership role at Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness, we've really worked hard to expand the partnerships that we have with many of our community entities, really to ensure that we're adequately meeting the needs of our Brookings County residents. So some of those partnerships include working closely with the Boys and Girls Club in the Teen Court program, providing mental health assessments and ongoing mental health services for individuals that are in the Teen Court program with the Boys and Girls Club, working closely with all of our Brookings County school systems. In partnership with Avera Behavioral Outpatient Services of Brookings, we're providing counseling services in all of our Brookings County schools. So we have at least one counselor designated to every single school in our county, working closely with teachers and school counselors to make sure that, again, we're assisting them with any mental health or substance use needs that our kids are facing in school, and then providing in-school services. Also working closely with the Brookings Empowerment Project on promoting just general mental health awareness and community education, supporting caregivers in our community. Had a great opportunity to work with our state's attorney's office in providing a diversion program. I think he reported on it a couple months ago. Over the last, I think roughly 18 months, we've seen almost 300 individuals come through that program for our Move Up Diversion program. I could name several others, but again, the focus for us has been really on building and expanding on those partnerships with other community entities to make sure that we're meeting needs in Brookings County. We have been able to maintain a essentially zero wait list and a pretty short time to first appointment for our counseling services. We're looking at about a max of 8 days to get somebody into counseling services. If you've looked across private entities or across the state, really we are an exception at this point in being able to get individuals in quickly for services. Typically there is a very long waiting list, and it could be 1 to even up to 3 months before individuals can get in for care. We've worked very hard to make sure that we're getting people in quickly so that when they are in need and they've been able to reach out for services, that we're getting them in right away. The 8 days is really, those are individuals that are either being referred to us or they're calling in kind of self-referring for services. Anyone that comes to us via a crisis call through our on-call services, they get next day follow-up. So we're making sure that we're, again, really trying to meet the needs of the individuals when they need us the most. I wanted to give a couple of highlights from our state accreditation review process. Again, it's been a little while since I've addressed the commission. So when I started in June of 2018. That's when I took over as executive director. We had our accreditation review in 2018, just a few months later in October. So that was my first go around with accreditation with the state. And you can see our numbers there in gray for 2018. The state does, they provide us with a cumulative score, and then they look at our chart review. So they look at both mental health and substance use charts, and then our administrative review score. That typically covers our HR, our policies and procedures, that type of thing. So you can see in gray, we were running in the 70s in 2018. Our latest review was in November of 2020, and our percentages all significantly increased across the board for our state accreditation review. I've been working really closely with members of the State Division of Behavioral Health to make sure that we are doing what we are supposed to do in terms of administrative rule and following the guidelines that are set for the service provision. The state also sends out, on a yearly basis, they send out stakeholder surveys. So this is something where for every community, they send out a survey link and want feedback from our local law enforcement, the school systems, the hospital, et cetera, to see how our stakeholder agencies feel that we are doing in terms of providing services and providing support to those entities. So I wanted to call out a couple of things that I thought were important metrics from that stakeholder survey. Our agency responsiveness, so this is looking at how our agency is able to respond to the needs of the community or the needs of the stakeholder agencies. In FY18, we had 20% of respondents agree that we were responsive. You can see in 2020, that bumped up to 73%. Still room for improvement, but great strides are being made there in terms of being responsive to our community entities. And then some comments on what our stakeholders said the agency does well. Collaboration of care, identifying and utilizing resources, demonstrating follow-through, good communication, and working well with other agencies, and then our 24/7 availability for our on-call services. So I'm very proud of the improvements that we've been able to make with our stakeholders in the community and how we are working together as a team. Again, still, there's always room for improvement and things that we can continue to work on, but we've made good strides there. Just a couple of stats on our service logistics to give everyone a sense of how many individuals we are seeing on an annual basis. So for total number of appointments in 2020, we had over 14,000 appointments in that year. And to date, in 2021, we've had 4,424 appointments. That translates to unduplicated client counts of about 1,300 in 2020 and 774 in 2021 to date. So our number of appointments continue to go up. We're seeing individuals, a lot of times, we see them multiple times a week in some cases. So a lot of appointments on the books, and our unduplicated client count continues to go up as well as we're able to expand our services, make people in the community aware of what we have in terms of offerings, and providing quality care that people want to access our services for. Some stats on our on-call data. So Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness provides 24/7, 365 on-call services. During the day, anyone that is in crisis can reach out through our main office line. We take walk-ins. We also send clinicians out during regular service hours to the hospital, the police department, the jail, just in the community in general to provide crisis care. And then anytime after hours, when the office is closed, our main line rolls directly to an on-call phone. So at any time, day or night, people calling in reach a person, and that individual is a counselor and able to go out and provide services and support in that crisis care. So from January 1 to December 30, 2020, we had a total of 368 calls. We also track the number of individuals that are served with each call. So it could be a single client that's calling in, or we could be addressing a family member or families. So that's why there's an increase in the number of people served, because sometimes there are multiple people that are involved in that call. So total individuals was 552. And then contact hours, the amount of time that we actually spent on those calls, 240.62 hours for 2020. And then you can see January 1 through April 30, total calls is 103, individuals served is 155, with contact hours being 59. And then our running kind of 16-month total, you'll see at the bottom, with 471 calls, 707 individuals served, and 300 contact hours. I showed you our appointment totals and our unduplicated client count a couple of slides ago. That does not account for this information. So these individuals served, these total hours, that is above and beyond what our regular appointments and unduplicated client counts show. We all know that COVID-19 has impacted our communities, has impacted the globe, and all of us in very different ways. I wanted to give just a quick update on how our agency handled the COVID-19 pandemic and are still handling it today. We have been very careful to implement local, state, and CDC guidelines, making sure that we're supporting the health and safety of not only our staff and our family members, but of our clients. We serve a very vulnerable population, and so making sure that their health and their safety has been at the forefront as we kind of navigate these uncharted territories with a global pandemic. We were able to transition rapidly to telehealth services. Prior to the pandemic, our agency didn't provide telehealth at all, mainly because we're a single county catchment area for services, and the telehealth requirements state that you're not able to provide telehealth services in the same geographical area. So provider and patient cannot be in the same location. So we didn't have telehealth services. When the pandemic hit, we were able to transition from fully in-office, no telehealth capabilities. Within 3 days, we were fully up and running, providing telehealth services. All of our clinicians, including our psychiatrist and our PA, were providing telehealth services within 3 days. So we had essentially no gap in services for our clients. We were able to transition all of our administrative functions to be able to do intake paperwork and make sure our billing had no gaps as well. So we were constantly taking new clients and maintaining that service for the individuals we had already been seeing. We also worked really closely again with other community entities. We were made aware of the needs within the community, particularly for staff members, and we implemented a check-in format for community members and staff members of some of our partner agencies. And a couple that I highlighted here, Boys and Girls Club, the Brookings Children's Museum, and the health system, where we had, whether it was myself or another one of our staff members, provided regular weekly check-ins at no cost to the individual and no cost to the agency, to make sure that the staff that were still on site providing services were handling the pandemic okay, were managing their stress and anxieties okay. So that is something that I'm very proud of as well. We were, again, able to kind of quickly implement those things to ensure that we're providing the needed care for people as we all tried to navigate the pandemic. To talk numbers, finance numbers, I wanted to provide just a graphical depiction of what our budgeted revenue has looked like since FY 2018. Again, when I took over in June of FY 2018. Previously, we had been running very close to that FY 28 budget of about $824,000. Again, was FY 2018 budget. And you can see that orange bar under there is what the county's contribution was for those fiscal years. So in FY 2018, we had a budget of $824,000, and the county contribution ended up being $145,000. That was kind of the first year that, thankfully, the county approved some additional funds mid-year to support our growth and make sure that the agency was getting on level foot. Then you can see from there, we had FY 2019 stayed pretty consistent in the $800,000 range. And then from FY 20 through current, we've seen a very nice steady growth in our budgeted revenue. FY 20, we hit just over $1 million in budgeted revenue. FY 21, I put 2 in there for FY 21 to show our budget and what we're actually projecting to hit at the end of this fiscal year. So our budgeted revenue was 1.3, and we're projecting to hit actually 1.4 million in revenue for FY 21. And then again, you can see we continued to receive 150,000 for FY 19 and 20 from the county. And then FY 21, we were fortunate to receive the $200,000 allotment from the county. And then in FY 22, we are projecting at this point a $1.6 million budget. And our request into the county this year was for funding for $250,000. Just to think about in percentage of contribution of county funds to our overall budget, FY 18, that $145,000 compared to our $824,000 budget was 17.5% of our total budget. That was the county's contribution. Looking at then FY 22 with our requested $250,000 and a budget of 1.6, that equates to about 15% of our revenue. So really over the last several years, the county contribution has stayed fairly steady between 15 and 17%, and we are slowly kind of decreasing that over time as we're able to diversify our other revenue streams and grow our service base. This is a slide that I just wanted to kind of talk through some of the ways that we're diversifying our revenue and where we're seeing growth in revenue. So the way we look at our income, we are a fee-for-service-based organization. So whether that comes from our state contracts, which again is still fee-for-service based, or private insurance, private pay, individuals, that is our core income source, is fee-for-service based. And then we have other revenue sources that support the income that we are not able to bring in with billable services. So there is always a percentage of our services that we are not able to bill for whatever reason. We are a community mental health center, so we provide services regardless of ability to pay. So there are services that we can't recoup funding for in terms of billable services. So that's where we need to bring in other revenue sources to offset what we're not able to bill for. Some growth in that other revenue area, we've been able to regain funding from the city of Brookings. We've partnered with SDSU on 2 different ongoing opioid grants where we're able to expand our chemical dependency services. And now, if you look at growth in services, we're looking to implement MAT, which is medication-assisted treatment, here actually June 1. So for FY22, we'll be implementing medication-assisted treatment, and that is through a partnership with SDSU and an opioid grant through that partnership. We've successfully applied for different levels of COVID funding through the pandemic to help, again, offset any extra expenses that we've incurred, and that has been both federal and state funding. And then we've also looked to local community foundations for targeted projects where we've needed a specific program to meet a need or increased our technology capabilities, again, for things like telehealth services. The additional growth in service revenue comes from a couple of new programs that we've been able to implement. Our Systems of Care program is one that focuses on youth and families in our community, and this is really meant to be a comprehensive wraparound service for youth and their families. And it's not just addressing needs that are mental health focused, but it's understanding that mental and behavioral health really, there are so many components that play into an individual's mental health and their success. So we look at finance, housing, food insecurities, and we assist family members in addressing any of those needs that happen to come up within the family. We've been able to provide crisis counseling, and that initiated actually pre-pandemic when we identified that there was extra strain in our community from flooding that we had. So whether it was individuals in town or, a lot of our surrounding farm families experienced a great deal of struggle due to flooding. And then we layered the pandemic on top of that. So we sought out and were successful in getting some crisis counseling dollars to provide additional services. Our Move Up Diversion program, which I'd mentioned, and then we've seen a significant increase in private insurance as well. So expanding the base of individuals that are seeking service from our agency. And then again, I already mentioned the MAT, which will be starting in FY22. And then we've also begun just general fundraising. We'll talk about some future growth here, but trying to support that through Day of Giving fundraising as well. Our staff has been one of my major focuses since taking over in 2018, realizing that we can't provide the community with good quality service if we don't have a strong, quality, well-educated, well-licensed staff. So making sure that we're supporting our staff members in pursuing continuing education, pursuing licensure, and ongoing training is something that has been a top priority for me. So I wanted to give a couple of updates on how our licensure achievement has happened over the last couple of years with our staff. And I apologize, I know there's a lot of just letters up here. So LPC stands for Licensed Professional Counselor. That is typically the individuals that come out of our counseling program at SDSU. They are working towards their LPC licensure, so Licensed Professional Counselor. The MH component is a mental health designation that makes the LPCMH the highest level of designation within that category of counseling. So we've had 2 staff that have been able to successfully move from an LPC to an LPCMH, and that requires ongoing continuing education and tracking and supervision of hours completed towards licensure. 2 of our individuals that completed their master's program were able to obtain the licensed professional counselor status. So again, ongoing continuing education and hours towards licensure. We have 2 new individuals that are designated as QMHPs, so qualified mental health providers. We now have a total of 4 QMHPs on staff. And we have new NCCs, that's a national counseling credential, that are working towards the LPC designation. An LAC is licensed addictions counselor. And then the XDEA is our PA, our physician assistant, that was able to become MAT waiver to provide medication-assisted treatment. So again, I know there's a lot of random letters up there for you all, but again, staff licensure and achievement is something that has been very important to me, and supporting our staff as they're either starting with us through their internship at SDSU and then subsequently completing their hours towards licensure, supporting ongoing community continuing education is something that's very important to us as a staff. Some additional credentials and training that our staff has been focused on, and these are just a few examples, but we have individuals that are trained in play therapy. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. MI is motivational interviewing. Life skills, project success, craft, and Sabisa. Again, just to name a few, but ongoing trainings that our staff is completing to make sure that they are credentialed in specific evidence-based practices to provide quality care. And this is something that I am very supportive of, and our staff is interested in participating in any ongoing training that they've got available to them. And then our planning for the future, we continue to grow our staff and try to support the ongoing and increasing need that we're seeing in Brookings County. The pandemic really kind of brought light to a need where individuals may be struggling with things, and now kind of the pandemic maybe pushed them over the edge and they're starting to reach out for services. We've been able to just provide community education and awareness to mental health and substance use issues in a way that we're working with other community entities to make it okay to seek help. So we are continuing to see an increasing need for services. With that comes a need to grow our staff to make sure that we have the ability to support those services. So in addition to increasing staff, that also means we need to increase just our general brick and mortar, our infrastructure, bringing our technology capabilities up to date, expanding our physical space so that we can house all, our clinical staff and house the groups that we need. So that really is our focus as a staff, and I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful supportive board that is really looking towards the future, and we're doing a lot of strategic planning at this point to make sure that we have a plan in place to be able to grow the organization and continue to meet the needs of Brookings County. And then finally, I want to express a huge thank you to the county. We've had, ongoing county support for years, and I've been very fortunate to see an increase in that support as our organization has continued to grow. And the support from the county is really critical to our ability to continue to maintain services and grow those services. So I'm so grateful for the county, for that ongoing support and confidence in what we do. Thank you. And I'd take any questions at this time.
Mr. Pierce?
I'd just like to say congratulations to you and your staff and your board for the changes that have happened in the last 4 years at the center. I hear good community remarks, and all of the things that I'm seeing just really is just wonderful.
Thank you.
Could you tell us how many staff you have? How many counselors do you have?
Yes, we have 9 counselors, and we have 2 case managers.
And then what are you doing with the seriously mentally ill? And I might not have used the phrase right there, where we're not talking, day-to-day counseling, but people that are going to have problems their whole life with mental illness. And what's going on with, are you having any support from psychiatrists, or is your PA handling all of that? How's that being handled?
Good question. So, as I mentioned, we have 9 counselors, 2 case managers. In addition to that, we have an RN, our PA, who does, she's a psych PA, and then our psychiatrist. So right now, our psychiatrist is in office 2 days a month. Our PA is in office 2 days a week, and she will be adding an additional day as we initiate MAT services. And then our nurse is on site full-time. So from the perspective of our community members with serious mental illness, we have them set up with a regular counselor, so they meet at minimum monthly with their primary counselor. They meet generally on a weekly basis, if not sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a week with their case manager, as well as they meet with our registered nurse to do medication management. We also have put a focus with a kind of transition to behavioral health and wellness, really put a focus on kind of whole person wellness, particularly for our individuals with serious mental illness, realizing that those individuals have been on psychiatric medications for most of their life. They typically struggle with obesity, diabetes, hypertension. When we are seeing them that frequently in our office, we can be part of their whole treatment team and make sure that we're helping them to monitor or self-monitor their blood pressure or their blood sugars, and notifying their care team at either one of the clinics or the hospitals if we're seeing anything that's out of the norm for them. So really, those individuals are getting sometimes daily touch points with us. We also have group services that are available. We offer group times 3 days a week for our individuals with serious mental illness. 2 of them are called our care group, where they focus on general life skills, interpersonal skills. We do activities with them. And then one of the days a week is, we call it Nourish to Flourish, but it's a healthy lifestyles related group where we have brought in dietetics and nursing students to help with meal planning, healthy lifestyles. They cook a meal together at our office and talk about, again, just maintaining healthy lifestyles and some simple things that they're able to do to help improve their overall health. So again, those individuals we typically see on a daily basis and have multiple different touch points set up with them.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Barley?
Well, thanks for the presentation, Mary Beth. All I can say is wow. I mean, when I got involved with this back in 2018, and to see the difference now from then, it's just truly remarkable. And so kudos to you and to your board. I think I made that comment when I left your board that I'd never worked with a board more supportive of an organization than this board was. They really stepped up and went to work, and so there's kudos to this board, previous board members, and to the current board members, and to Commissioner Boersma, who stepped in and when I left the board. You have some county support, and we'll continue to support it. We don't shirk those responsibilities. But I would tell anybody in the community that wants to, on Brookings Day of Giving, the money would be well spent by this board and by you. So kudos again, and thank you. That was a very good report. Got into the details that everybody would like to see that we never had back in 2018. We never had any of these types of facts or figures to work with. So again, thank you. I appreciate that, and thank you to your board.
Thank you. Other
I'll just say
questions?
briefly that during our development of the diversion programs, Mary Beth has never been a no person. She's a yes person. And anytime I've come to her,
My staff doesn't always like that.
anytime I've come to her with an idea to start developing these diversion programs, it's always been yes, 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 yes. I've never gotten a no. Thank you for your support. Certainly our diversion programs wouldn't be possible without your staff stepping up to the plate and helping us out there. So thank you very much.
I'd just like to say thank you for a great report and providing service to the community.
Thank you.
I think you all know there's no board I'd rather be a part of, and it's really fun to ride the upswing of this organization and the way that Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness and this team supports the Brookings community is so incredibly critical. There's a lot of boards that we serve on because we have to, and then there are those that we serve on because we care about it and we genuinely want to be there. And this is that for me. So thank you.
Job well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You guys have done a fantastic job from rising it up from where it was. And we needed that leadership, and you've provided it, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 8, regular business. Action approved resolution number 21-21, a plat of Lot 1 of Smire Addition in the west half of Section 25, Township 112 North, Range 48 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, call a roll.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B, action to approve resolution number 21-22, a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2021 John Deere 772G based upon the prices established through the state of Minnesota bid process. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Comments?
This is budgeted in my 5-year plan, and I verified with the RDO salesman that we would be receiving this by September-ish.
You said it'd be delivered by September? Yeah. Any other questions? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Boersma?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C, action approve agreement number 21-75, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of County Highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Madera Township. Do I have motion approved?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
This is a continuation of some of the work they're doing down south of Brookings here. They're burying the overhead lines.
No other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item D, action approve agreement number 21-76, an application for occupancy of right-of-way of County Highway made by Sioux Valley Energy in Argo Township. I have a motion approved.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Same thing.
Yeah, different portion of the county, but same thing.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item E, action approved a request for $500 from the Elkton Special Days Committee for the 4th of July fireworks display. Do I have a motion approved?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion second. Comments?
This is an annual request. Looking back, at least the last 5 years, probably beyond that, the commission has given the $500 through your public relations line.
Call the roll, please.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item F, action to approve a petition for a road district on the West Oakwood Shoreline Drive. Do I have a motion approved?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any comments?
I just have a question. The process, we don't see a lot of these, and we have on occasion seen them that weren't done quite right. Is that something that the finance office makes sure that we've got our ducks in the row? Or does this go through Bob Hill's office and they take a look at it as relates to the issues that are involved in the road district development?
I don't think it goes through Bob's office at all. This has nothing to do with zoning. It has to do with setting up a new taxing entity,
Right.
so that they can basically impose a tax on themselves to fix their road along that drive. The petition, they were required to draft their own petition. We did not do that for them, so they hired counsel to do that, I believe, is the process. Jenna's shaking her head yes. And then what we do from here, once this is approved, is we do help them set up an election. They have to hold an election somewhere along the road district up there, the proposed road district. That election then has to pass by the registered voters up there. And then they work with us to get that set up in our system so that we can start collecting taxes for them. And then we disperse those out just like we do with towns, townships, schools, etc.
I'm not sure that I got the answer to my question, which is, who looks at this from the county's perspective to make sure we're in compliance with South Dakota law?
The finance office has been looking at it in conjunction with Steve Britzman on their side to make sure everything is done correctly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item G, action approve a request to fill vacancy for welder, fabricator, mechanic in the highway department. I have a motion approved.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item H, action approve a fireworks display on Friday, June 11th, 2021 as part of the Old Timers Day celebration in Volga. I have a motion approved.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
Well, where, are they having this out? Don't they usually have it at the golf course?
They have it kind of on that east end of the driving range, which was not annexed. Where they shoot the actual fireworks off from was not annexed as part of the annexation of the whole golf course, because I did have that conversation on whether or not it needed to come before the commission anymore, but it does. And I know we usually get the question about making sure that it's monitored for dry conditions, things like that. I know that the Volga Fire Department is actually there assisting with lighting these off, so they have a presence there.
Hearing no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item I, action to approve a statement of support for the Rapid City Pier and Eastern Railroad's Raise grant application. I have a motion approved.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Comments?
Yeah, I met with supporters of this, and we've done this in the past on an expansion there. They'd like to have support, letters of support with all of the counties that are along the railroad throughout the state. Obviously, this doesn't affect us directly, but it does affect the whole use and efficiency of the rail, which helps our producers get their product to the market. So we're just a statement of support for the project and everything like that. So.
I also met with people from the railroad, and they were contacting all the counties all the way along the rail line all the way out west. So I thought it was a worthwhile project. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 9, Commission Department Director's Report.
Included with my report financials for the jail project. As you can see, we've been getting some revenue in with property taxes here this year. Expenditures been going out. This is really where we're at. We only have about just over $100,000 left to pay to Architect BKV as part of their contract. We have about just shy of 10.8 million to Henry Carlson. There is going to be another very significant size bill that will get paid at the next time of about 1.7 million worth of work. You'll see that come through in the next claim cycle. The questions and solutions engineering, that's our commissioning group, they have already submitted some bills. There's some of these other professional services that are kind of other, that is some of our concrete inspection work that's being done, some things outside of those are big contracts. So there is that. I've been in contact with Nancy Stewart with the Madera Township chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. They're getting ready to start doing their planting out at the Madera Monument site. They have a couple of questions, a couple of asks. They're interested in putting in a flagpole out there and then a plaque. And I think I've shown you this is a very pixelated picture of what they want, but you get the general idea of what they want for the plaque. The flagpole, I think there's maybe some more discussion that needs to take place with that, because flags, especially out in the rural area, will need to be replaced quite often. And then there's the whole raise it up, lower it issue. And I don't think it's something that we want to just say, oh, it's just going to be up. If there's things to be at half staff, they need to be moved down, and then who is responsible for that? And I think they're willing to take on the expense of the installation of some of these things, but it's some of those ongoing type things that I think we need to have some conversation about. And I had voiced that concern with Nancy when we had the talk. I think the plaque is fine. That's not an issue. The flagpole concerns me a little bit just because of the ongoing issues, just replacements of flags, and then the lowering and the raising of the flag when needed. So I don't know if you have any comments off the cuff about that, or if you want to think about that and let me know your thoughts on that.
Stacy, were they planning to keep a flag out there all the time?
Yes.
So then it would be required by law to be lit.
Yes, and that is, the flagpole that they are looked at has like a solar type light that so it would be lit at night. They were aware of that. So that would not be an issue. That's, I think, built into the flagpole itself. My concern was replacement flags, and then the lowering to half staff, which we're seeing that being done a lot more often these days, it seems like. So if it would require our staff to go out to the site to lower it and then back out there to raise it.
And aren't there some weather-related issues when you have to bring it down? And I do know that Bob Hill is an expert on all these flag issues, and he might have an opinion that he could share with us, because he does a lot of that.
So we can maybe look into that a little bit more, exactly what has to be done with that. So, but I'll pass along that the plaque is fine. So, don't forget, today we do have the jail. We're going to go across the street and meet over at the trailer at the east side of the sheriff's office, and we'll get our hard hats on and we'll go for a tour through the jail here after this. I did hand out the April month end surplus cash analysis information this morning for the general fund. We're at 49%, which is above the average, 10-year average of about 40%. So we look like we're in pretty good shape. There. Some upcoming dates. Bob had mentioned the 25th. We do have that special joint meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission to start the ordinance approval process for the marijuana ordinance that we have. I know we discussed that at the last meeting. Memorial Day offices will be closed on May 31st. Budget hearings on June 24th. starting at, that's kind of a different time, about 8:15. We're going to get going, and I think our first department comes in at 8:30. Maderi Monument, the rededication of that is going to be Sunday, July 18th at 2 o'clock out at the Maderi Monument site. And then I did get a date when some of you were there too at the at the Sioux Valley Commissioners District meeting last Wednesday. First District mentioned that they're going to be having an open house at their new location, which they've been in now, but due to COVID, they got kind of moved in, and then COVID didn't allow any gatherings to take place. So they're going to have an official open house at their new location up in Watertown on September 23rd. It's a Thursday. I don't have the exact times yet, but I think it's going to be an evening thing. So I will, as that gets closer, I'll get times. But if you are interested in that, you can get that on your calendar for Thursday, September 23rd. And that's all I have.
Okay. State's Attorney's Office report. Okay, thank you. Mr.
Lori said on May 4th, I did training with the state finance officers on the relationship between bankruptcy and county liens. It was a nice. On May 6th, I attended the public affairs meeting by Zoom, and the activities that public affairs does are slowing down now that the legislative session has passed. I attended on May 11th the work session with the rest of you to look at staffing as we move forward in the future. And on May 13th, I attended the Joint Powers meeting. The new agreement isn't done yet. We'll be having that hopefully at our next meeting in August. We did look at and approve a budget to be submitted to the county commission and the city council for the upcoming year. One of the things that was interesting to me when we talked about the budget, and for those of you that have served on Joint Powers previously, or if anybody was here when the building was built, I don't know that we got anybody left anymore. The county pays the full cost of the insurance on the building. Most everything we split 52-48, right, on our percentages. And we pay about $16,000 a year, and we cover the insurance for the building. And if Stacy's looking to try to find the history on that, why are we doing that? I'm not sure why we're doing that. We talked a little bit about security issues, and we're for the building, and we'll be moving forward and maybe coming back with a report later on that. And that would be my report.
Commissioner Bartley.
Get that. On May 5th, I attended the First District's meeting in Watertown. I attended at the office. I was elected to the executive committee. On May 11th, attended the work session with the rest of you. I thought that went really well. It was a good session for us. May 12th, the 10-county meeting up in Watertown. I attended that. It was always good information from the lobbyists, the representatives up there and the senators. That's my report.
Mr. Krogman.
Yeah, pretty light on my end here. The 11th work session again. And then I attended the Maderi drainage meeting. And I thought that went really well. The reason I thought it went so well is the people that we had on the meeting. We had a person from the Corps there to see that. We had conversation with NRCS and we talked about the things that we need to do to keep moving forward and the process that it will take. And it's going to take a long time. It really is, because each agency's going to have to put together some information and put their reports. And there's going to be a lot of agencies that we're going to have to work through just for this little piece of river that has washed out. And so, and I understand it's, we just don't want people throwing dirt in the middle of the river and blocking it and stuff like that. There's just a lot of things that can happen when you do that stuff, and a lot of unintended consequences that can happen. So it was a very good meeting, and the fact that we had, I think, stakeholders and decision makers on the meeting, and that was important. And we brought up some information about our concern about our roads and the safety of our roads and what's happened to that road along there, now that the water has changed its path and the majority is going down a different path than originally. And so we'll compile some of the, that's one of the things that the Corps wanted is what are the problems that this is causing? What are the negatives and what are the positives? And we'll put together our portion on behalf of the county of the negatives for us about the detriment it's having to our road system there and our structures that are along that road and that kind of thing. So we've got a lot of work to do on that, but it was a good meeting, and I was appreciative to be able to sit into it and appreciative for all the people that were there. And we did thank them for coming on the meeting and taking their time. We wanted to show our appreciation for that. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Boersma.
The 11th, I was part of this review, and the 12th, the 10 county meeting, the 13th board meeting, and then the 14th, we had a BEDC board retreat subcommittee meeting to plan for that upcoming board retreat. We also had a NACO Next Gen leadership team meeting where we communicated with the High Performance Leadership Academy folks related to NACO Next Gen essentially producing continuing education modules for all of NACO through the High Performance Leadership Academy. So when it comes to specific content areas such as architectural contracts and capital improvement plans and some of those types of things, NACO Next Gen Committee and the High Performance Leadership Academy folks are going to work collaboratively to produce some of that content for new commissioners and folks who are coming into a role for the first time. So I think that's an exciting potential partnership. And then we had an Ivy Center facilities meeting. We need to create space for basically 4 new staff members out of existing boardrooms and things like that. So there will be much less group space available because of the number of clinicians that are necessary to support the workload and caseload for that organization. So we're moving forward with plans to create 5 new offices in areas of the building that used to be group spaces so that we can support growing staff, which means that over the course of the next 2 years, there will be a major capital campaign for a building expansion as a part of the Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness's mission to continue to grow to support the needs of the community.
When they're looking at expanding the building, are they looking at staying on that spot or
Yes.
moving?
Staying on site, yep. The proximity to downtown, public transit, those types of things are really important in terms of how they function. And so the board evaluated various options for relocation, but ultimately decided that the location that they're in is really advantageous for a lot of different reasons, not the least of which is, frankly, the clientele that they serve, familiarity and comfort level with that area of town is also already there. And so instead of trying to transition to an area outside of kind of the core of downtown, it just makes life logistically much easier to be proximate to walking areas. Yep. And then last night we had a Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness Board meeting, just talking through some of those staff expansions and growth and changes and kind of what the next 2 and 3 years of fundraising and building projects will likely look like for us. So it's an exciting time. That's it.
Okay, on the 4th, met in Stacy's office. We talked about our township culvert grant application and talked a little bit about that. Ryan, Commissioner Krogman, and Brian and Stacy and I believe they had another meeting with working with the state program. I'll touch on that in a little bit. But on the 5th, the Conservation District meeting, they're very busy right now. It's amazing how many trees and plantings they've been doing for the residents of the county. There's only a critical time we can plant all these trees, and it's amazing how many they get planted in a few short weeks that they have. On the 6th, at a jail meeting in the morning, moving along quite well. We'll have our tour here after the meeting. On the 11th, the work session, very informative. Meeting was, we needed to have the meeting. It was great. Move forward from there. On the 12th, went to the 10-county meeting up in Cottington County. Commissioner Bartley said there was about, I think there was about 10 commissioners there. There was just about as many representatives from the state, but the topics were very good. A lot of talk on the medical marijuana, the adult use marijuana. Also, touched a little bit on the Second Amendment, and also the First District talked about the culvert program through the state, and they're working on what will qualify for that, and we're going to try to incorporate that a little bit with our county culvert grant program. We're throwing around the idea of holding a public, well, not a public meeting, but to invite the townships in so we can give them the information firsthand, not in an email or letter, but we can sit down, we can have representatives speak to the program and how it's operated and everything. On the 13th, I volunteered out at the point of dispensing in the morning there. I was impressed with the number of people that were still coming in to get their shots. I believe they have another one on this Thursday, a longer one. And Bob and everybody out there is doing a great job of volunteering. The number of volunteers have went up because some of the people are only able to take a half day off from their job to come out and volunteer. But it's great the people that show up and volunteer. And that is it. Moving on to number 12, executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, parentheses 1, parentheses 4, personnel and contract negotiations. Do I have a motion to enter an executive session?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.